Hi, my name is Vanessa Conlin, and I'm going to be tasting the 2019 vintage of the Pocas Junior Vale de Cavalos Douro Red Blend. I'm going to guarantee that I didn't pronounce all of those words correctly that are Portuguese, but just bear with me. I do not speak that language. So this is a red blend from the Douro. We're in Portugal. We're in the Douro Valley. The Douro Valley is named for the river that runs east to west. And this is the region that you might know for a sweet fortified wine port. This region also produces fantastic dry wines that are not fortified, and that is what we have in the glass here today. But the grapes in this blend are the same grape varieties that you can find in sweet port, in fortified port. We're primarily Touriga Nacional. It's about 50% in this bottle. We've got Touriga Franca, Tinta Roriz, and Tinta Barroca. So some things to know about those varieties. Tinta Roriz, which I mentioned, it's the same grape as Tempranillo in Spain, just with a different name here in Portugal. The first variety that I mentioned, Touriga Nacional, is a very, very beautiful, noble grape variety. I remember when I was sort of early on in my wine education and I was taking a class, and the instructor said, let's name all of sort of the most, noble varieties in the world that can really make excellent wines that can age. And we went through all the ones you would expect. We're naming, Cabernet Sauvignon and Riesling, Chardonnay, Pinot Noir. And we're going, she's saying, no, you haven't named it yet. You haven't named it yet. And we were stumped. And she said, of course, it's Touriga Nacional. So this is your opportunity to try this today. So this region has these very, very steep slopes that surround the Douro River. You'll see these very dramatic, beautiful terraces kind of carved into the schist soil there. And this particular family, they do make a fortified wine as well. And they're one of the few families that's actually still Portuguese owned. There's been a lot of particularly British ownership in this particular region, but it's on the fourth generation. They have made a very, very strong commitment to promoting the dry table wines of the region. And in order to do that, in 2014, they actually partnered with a French enologist named Hubert du Board, who owns Chateau Angelus in Saint-Emilion. So you don't really get much more famous than that. So definitely a property to watch. So let's try this together. All right. So we've got a beautiful kind of ruby color in the glass. It actually has almost like undertones of purple in this as well. So on the nose, very violet to this. There's a lot of blue fruit, black fruit, sort of blackberry, blueberry, a little boysenberry in it, but very, very floral. And there is kind of a spice note as well, almost like a licorice note in the glass. So let's taste together. And if you're tasting with me, I always encourage you, really swish it around all corners of your mouth so that you really can experience not just sort of the initial flavors, but also the texture and the shape of the wine on your palate. Here goes. So what I get on this, which is what I remember, of dry red wines from the Douro, there's a very, very fine grained tannin. It almost could be mistaken in some sense for Bordeaux in that regard, if you were, let's say, tasting this blind. But there's a bit more ripeness than I get in Bordeaux, and more of that kind of blue fruited note. Again, on the palate, there's kind of like a damson plum, that blackberry, boysenberry, blueberry note that I got on the nose, but there's also a savory note, a savory undertone as well. It's kind of savory herbs, again, kind of licorice, almost like a little bit of like root vegetables actually on the finish, which leads to what I'd love to say about this wine also, which is these are very food-friendly wines. They're very affordable and they're very food-friendly from this region. By the way, they do also make white wines from the region if you'd like to try it. They all have indigenous variety names, and there's, I think, 80 permitted in the region. So I certainly wouldn't expect you to memorize all of them. But definitely, I encourage you, if this is the first wine you've had from Portugal that isn't a fortified wine, keep exploring because there's so much to love there.